Hi Year 6, it's Wednesday the 17th of June, and today we're analysing and discussing how atmosphere is created in a narrative setting. What do these phrases mean? Talk to someone near you or have a think in your head. Fog wreaths came crawling, hung a dense white fog, abandoned funeral chapel, and ivy on the sides of the spire. Let's see if your ideas are similar. Fog wreaths came crawling means the fog curled round as it moved slowly. Hung a dense white fog means that a thick white fog filled the air. Abandoned funeral chapel is just a church building which is no longer used. And finally, ivy on the sides of the spire means that ivy was growing all over the spire, which is a tall, slender tower found on church buildings. Here are some pictures of fog. What words or phrases would you use to describe it? Pause the slides to jot down some ideas. Here are some words which I thought of: curling, creeping, stealthily crawling, wrapping white damp fingers around, prowling through the woods, icy tendrils, sneaking and writhing. You can see that I've used some personification to give the fog human characteristics. I wonder whether you have chosen anything like that. Okay, so just for a few moments, have you read any books or watched any films which fog has appeared in? Which type of narrative would you expect to have fog in when it is describing the setting, and why? And what might be the purpose of including fog in a narrative setting description? Focus listening. I want you to think about this question. How has the author made the atmosphere of this setting seem mysterious? Find 4 examples and get ready to share them with someone who is near you, or jot your ideas down if you are on your own. The fog was thinner as you approached the top of the hill. The half-moon shone, not as bright as day, not by any means, but enough to see the graveyard, enough for that. Look, you could see the abandoned funeral chapel, iron doors padlocked, ivy on the sides of the spire, a small tree growing out of the guttering at roof level. You could see stones and tombs and vaults and memorial plaques. You could see the occasional dash or scuttle of a rabbit or a vole or a weasel as it slipped out of the undergrowth and across the path. You would have seen these things in the moonlight if you had been there that night. You might not have seen a pale, plump woman who walked the path near the front gates. And if you had seen her, with a second, more careful glance, you would have realised that she was only moonlight, mist, and shadow. The plump, pale woman was there, though. She walked the path that led through a clutch of half-fallen tombstones towards the front gates. The gates were locked. They were always locked at 4 in the afternoon in winter, at 8 at night in summer. A spike-topped iron railing ran around part of the cemetery, a high brick wall around the rest of it. The bars of the gates were closely spaced. They would have stopped a grown man from getting through, even stopped a 10-year-old child. What do these parts add to the atmosphere? Pause the slides to have a think. Fog makes me think that objects and events could be hidden or misinterpreted by the fog. The chapel is locked up and no one goes there, which makes it seem eerie and the reader feels as though they are alone. Abandoned means no one goes there, so the reader knows the setting is deserted and no one will be there, which adds to the feeling of unease. Often graveyards are the settings for scary stories. It is dark, foggy and empty. The reader starts to feel that something will happen. What else have you noticed? Your task. You are going to repeat the task for a new extract of text. You can read it yourself or listen to me read it. There is a copy on the website if you are able to print it off. We're going to be thinking about the same question. How would you describe the atmosphere in this setting? How has the author achieved this? Jot your ideas on a piece of paper, or if you've printed this off, record your ideas around it like we do in the classroom. I have said that over the great Grimpen Mire there hung a dense white fog. It was drifting slowly in our direction and banked itself up like a wall on that side of us, low but thick and well defined. The moon shone on it, and it looked like a great shimmering ice field. Every minute that white woolly plain which covered one half of the moor was drifting closer and closer to the house. Already the first thin wisps of it were curling across the golden square of the lighted window. The farther wall of the orchard was already invisible, and the trees were standing out of a swirl of white vapour. As we watched it, the fog wreaths came crawling round both corners of the house and rolled slowly into one dense bank, on which the upper floor and the roof floated like a strange ship upon a shadowy sea. There was a thin, crisp, continuous patter from somewhere in the heart of that crawling bank. The cloud was within 50 yards of where we lay, and we glared at it, all three uncertain what horror was about to break from the heart of it. You can pause the slides to look at the text in more detail if you haven't printed it off from the website. Keep your ideas safe, as you'll be using them when we plan and write our own mystery story openings on Thursday and Friday.